You ever feel like your brain just doesn't switch off? Like even in silence it's loud. You notice everything. You think about everything. And somehow, that becomes the problem. People say being smart is a gift, but no one really talks about the weight that comes with it. Because some struggles don't look like struggles from the outside. They just look like you being different. And if you've ever felt that quiet distance between you and the rest of the world, this might feel a little too familiar. It starts small. You're in a normal conversation. Everyone's laughing. The topic is light, but your mind drifts. You start analyzing what someone just said. The tone, the meaning behind it, the intention. While everyone else moves on, you're still there, digging deeper. And suddenly, you're not really part of the moment anymore. That's the first struggle. You don't just experience life, you dissect it. And sometimes, that takes you out of it completely. Another one? Overthinking doesn't feel like a habit, it feels like survival. You replay conversations hours later. Did I say too much? Did they mean something else? What if I misunderstood everything? Your brain doesn't settle for simple answers. It wants the full picture, every angle, every possibility. But here's the catch. The more you think, the less certain you feel. And that uncertainty? It's exhausting. Now here's something people don't expect. You understand people deeply. You can read between the lines. You pick up on subtle shifts. You sense emotions others miss. But that doesn't mean you feel understood. In fact, it's often the opposite. Because when you see so much, you realize how little others actually see you. And that creates a quiet kind of loneliness. Not loud, not dramatic, just always there. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt completely at ease around someone? No filtering, no analyzing, no holding back. If you had to think about it, that's the point. Because another struggle is this constant self-awareness. You're always observing yourself. How am I coming across? Is this the right thing to say? Should I be more like them? It's like living with a mirror in your mind that never turns off. And over time, that mirror gets heavy. Then there's decision-making. You'd think being able to see all sides would help, but it doesn't. Because every choice opens 10 more possibilities. Every path has consequences you can already imagine. So instead of moving forward, you freeze. Not because you don't know what to do, but because you know too much. And here's where it gets a little deeper. You crave meaning. Surface-level things don't satisfy you. Small talk feels empty. Routine feels suffocating. Fake connections feel unbearable. You want depth, truth, something real. But the world doesn't always operate on that level. So you adapt. You smile. You nod. You go along. But inside, there's a quiet frustration. Like you're living on a different frequency. Another pattern? You question everything. Rules, beliefs, traditions, even your own thoughts. Nothing is accepted blindly. Which sounds powerful, and it is. But it also means you rarely feel settled. Because certainty requires trust. And trust becomes harder when you see too many flaws in everything. And then there's emotions. People assume logical minds are less emotional. That's not true. You feel deeply. Sometimes too deeply. But instead of expressing it, you process it. You try to understand it. Break it down. Control it. And in doing that, you often carry it alone. Because explaining something that complex feels impossible. Here's a subtle one. You get bored easily. Not because things are uninteresting, but because your mind moves faster than what's in front of you. You need stimulation, challenge, something that engages you fully. Without it, your mind starts wandering. And when it wanders, it doesn't always go to peaceful places. Now pause for a second. Think about your own patterns, the way your mind works, the way you react, the way you feel. How much of it have you been quietly dealing with on your own? Because the hardest part of all this isn't the thinking. It's the isolation that comes with it. But here's the realization most people miss. These struggles aren't flaws, they're side effects of awareness, of depth, of seeing more than what's obvious. The problem isn't that your mind is too much. It's that the world isn't always built for that kind of mind. And maybe you don't need to fix it. Maybe you just need to understand it. To stop fighting your own nature. To find spaces, people, and moments where you don't have to shrink yourself to fit in. Because the same mind that overthinks is also the mind that understands deeply, creates differently, sees beauty where others don't even look. So instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" try asking, "How do I work with this?" Because once you stop seeing it as a burden, it starts becoming something else entirely. Not easy, but meaningful. And maybe that's what you were looking for all along.